Good afternoon and welcome. We're glad to be here today to share publicly the latest news from the Richard Childress Racing camp. First, we would be remiss if we didn't thank Marcus Smith, Greg Walter, Scott Cooper, and the entire team here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the hospitality. As always, it's definitely going to be an interesting weekend of racing. I can just about attest to that. So, to kick things off, I'd like to introduce the three gentlemen sitting to my right. First and foremost, Richard Childress, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Richard Childress Racing. And, of course, the guy in the middle over there, Daniel Hemric. And lastly, on the end, Richard Childress Racing's President, Torrey Galida. Torrey, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jeremy. And I would like to echo your thanks to everybody here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Scott, thank you for the hospitality. And thank you to all of you for being here today. We appreciate it. I am extremely happy to be able to end 6 months of speculation about where Daniel Hemric is going to end up in 2019. So Daniel will be driving the Richard Childress Racing number 31 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 in 2019. You know, at RCR, Richard and the RCR team have had really a great record of success at bringing up young drivers through the Xfinity Series and making a number of them really successful at the Cup level. In fact, 3 of those drivers are here this weekend and competing for a Cup Series championship this year. So we're all justifiably proud of that and really proud to have Daniel as the latest member of that group. So Daniel, congratulations, and on behalf of everybody at RCR and ECR, we're really proud to have you and Kenzie remain a part of the RCR family.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It's unbelievable to see how starting here so many years ago has led to this point, and it's going to be an honor to continue down this path over the next, hopefully, couple of years, and just to be able to give the shot. So thanks, Torrey, thanks, Richard, thanks all of our staff at RCR, everyone here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for giving us the time to talk about this, and I'm just incredibly humbled and honored to know that, you know, all those nights and all those, you know, excuse me, I'm all choked up here. So it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Richard, chime in there. Go ahead. Say a few remarks if you would.
Yeah. You know, I'm really proud of this day. I know a lot of you's asked around, asked me, who's driving, what are you doing? I've been watching Daniel since he was a young boy over here. I call him a boy back in the day. Him, Austin, and Ty were all racing Bandoliers, Legends, those cars. And I've seen then the talent that Daniel had. And to get him on, Austin and Ty both have been for years trying to get him to drive for us, and to get him on the Xfinity cars and to see his talent. And now to be able to make the largest move of his career, to put him in a Cup car. I think back at other drivers like, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Ty. These are the drivers that I looked at their talent when they were very young and was fortunate to put them in cars and be able to go out and win races and do what they do best. And I think Daniel falls right in that line with those guys because he has all the talent it takes to win. He will be a winner. He will be racing for championships in the Cup Series in the future. So, Daniel, couldn't be prouder of you, buddy, to have you here.
Thank you. It means the world.
Y'all said you want to finish that thought, or you?
Yeah, I think I got it together now.
Okay.
I made eye contact with my wife back there. It got me. Yeah, I just think about, the so many people want to have this opportunity and they work their whole life for it. And I think being able to sit up here and be a testament to that, and be a testament to what this sport was built off of families doing whatever they could to give their kids shots. I feel like that's no different than what this RCR family is about. I'm excited to announce that I'm a part of it and going to continue to be a part of it and do it at the top series of what you work your whole life to get to. And going through this process, everybody that's followed my career throughout the summer shootout here at CMS to super late models to modifieds to super late models, whatever it was, trying to make the most out of whatever those situations were. And I think being in this spot today is a testament to each one of those folks that gave me a shot or gave me a ride whenever, there wasn't any rides to be given or to be had. So I'm just extremely, extremely humbled and thankful and always had faith it'd work out. Didn't know when or where I'd end up, but it's incredibly humbling to know that this is my family moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We'll open up the floor to questions right now. If you would, please raise your hand, and we can send a mic to you. We'll start right there with Claire, if that's all right. Yep.
Claire Beeline, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Richard, you've been around the sport for a long time, and I think back to the talent you judged in the early years and the drivers you brought on. How do you judge talent? And what do you see and what do you look for when making a decision like this over the years?
You know, thank you, Clara. I think you watch the drivers' talent, but then you got to watch. I look at drivers, what they have in their heart, and he has what it takes to become a winner, no different than these other guys that we've been fortunate enough to advance their careers on. And you got to have heart. You got to sacrifice. I know how much sacrifice Daniel and his family's done to get him where he is today, no different than the Harvicks and Boyers. And that's the thing about this sport. There's a lot of sacrifice, and your family has to go with you on it, and we're proud to have him part of our family.
Mark Garrow with PRN. A question for Daniel, a question for Richard. First off, Richard, you had another driver from Kannapolis that kind of worked out. Pretty good for both of you. And I was you might have answered this a little bit by what you just said. Do you see any of Dale in the way that Daniel has come up through?
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt's career wasn't. He had to work his way up. I remember him seeing him on dirt and seeing him in the late models and the things that he did. And to see Daniel, all the racing that he did over here at Charlotte and all the different tracks that he's ran, the late models, I think he's proved himself that he's well capable of being here, no different than Dale Earnhardt did in his day.
And Daniel, as you grew up in Kannapolis, how big of a deal was it to have somebody like Dale Earnhardt as the goal or as somebody to look up to?
Yeah, I always said that Dale was my childhood hero growing up, and to be able to drive by DEI on a regular basis, it was less than 5 miles from my house growing up, so it was very special to be able to see kind of what the pinnacle of the sport was and to be that close to your house, just to see his face and what he had came from the same hometown and grew an empire to what it was. And to have that stuff all come back full circle here at Richard Childress Racing and have, the guy he called his boss, to have that guy be my leader moving forward of the company I've dreamed about racing for my entire life. And unbelievable how, like I said, it's come full circle, and I'm sitting here today and, right, wrong, or indifferent from a little bit of the same backgrounds, and the fact of Richard touched on it, just having heart and having the desire and the motivation to get up every day when you get knocked down and standing back up and doing it again. And that's what this is all about.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Daniel, first off, congratulations. You and I sat here in this exact same room back at the very beginning of your summer shootout tenure a while back and talked about the possibility of moving up the ladder. Does it make it extra special to make this announcement here in this room today?
I haven't even thought about that, honestly. Yeah, it definitely does. I've sat up here, for many summer shootout championships and had the honor since, having that success in those days to come out here and talk to younger racers and be a part of the process of what you hope you're in a situation to do one day. And never thought that whenever this moment would come that it would just so happen to fall in my backyard here in Charlotte. So it makes it that much more special to see how many, so many familiar faces, and obviously the media and the folks that are normally covering our sport, but we get to have, all my family here, all the guys and all the crew people that have had a hand in some way, shape, or form of building my career at this point, and are able to come here and share this moment with me. And that's what's really, really cool about this, is to know that we get to do it at home.
You weren't one of the guys who came up through the ranks with a big money sponsor. You've busted your tail, worked for every opportunity you've gotten. Does that kind of a path, just pushing and pushing and having to be so extraordinarily patient, does this make all the sleepless nights worth it? Patient
is an understatement. It definitely does. Just thinking about how I've had to do it. A lot of people say, man, why'd you keep going? And honestly, I didn't know anything else to do. I knew one thing was for sure, that I wasn't ever going to reach this part of the sport that I love without keeping on trying at it. And that's that's what's landed me here on my feet and landed a place I can call home at RCR. And yeah, it does. I was telling stories earlier in the back. My old Super Late Model car owner, Jake Carswell's here. And heck, I was talking about string lining the right side of a race car at 4 a.m. trying to figure out, man, somebody else can read this thing. I can't even see the tape measure. I've been up so long working on this thing. So it's cool to have the opportunity to share all that with these people.
Deb Williams, RacingToday.com. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is for Richard, and it kind of continues in the vein with Mark Garrow started out. Number one, what does it mean to have a Kannapolis native back in your car? And number two, you've got him in the number 8 in the Cup race this weekend. Is there any thought that in order to carry on the Kannapolis tradition, most people know 8 was Dale Jr.'s number, but it also was Ralph Earnhardt's number on the short tracks, of maybe switching the 31 to the 8 next year?
We have discussed that, but we haven't finalized yet. Right now it's the 31, but that's not out of the question. When I very first wanted to run the 8, I called Dale Jr. and Kelly and told them what I was going to do, and they thought it was great. And, you know, we've had it for 3 or 4 years here, and we just now started using it this year with Daniel, and we thought it was a perfect fit, him from Kannapolis and putting the 8 with him. So I just think, I want to touch back on what Daniel says. People have no idea the sacrifices. When he said that about working on the right side of an old late model, I used to go to the dealerships and get beat up fenders and come and straighten them out and put them in my car, and, you know, no sleep. And that's what I like about Daniel. He's a racer. He's not somebody that's been handed or anything. He's been out there and worked for it, and he's been a racer.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. Daniel, your name came up with a lot of different rides. I mean, it seems that you did talk to a lot of people. How close did you come to leaving, and why didn't you?
I feel like all along in my heart, I knew where I wanted to be, and this was the path, and this is where I wanted to land, no matter how it shook out. There were times where, you know, Rich will attest to this without, you know, diving too far into our business, where I looked at him, I said, please help me not make this decision. I believe you recall that, and that's exactly what he did. He made it to where he knew this is where I wanted to be, and no matter what was being offered or thrown at me, that if it could be worked out in some way, shape, or form, that RCR was my home, and I'm incredibly fortunate to know that it worked out the way it has, and we get to carry on what not only we're starting now, but what I've been building on for 2 years, from the personnel side to the partnerships, to all of the people and folks we're surrounded with there at RCR and ECR and Chevrolet. That, you know, it's tough to even think about changing direction, whether you wanted to or not, because of how much you have invested. And I think staying true to the journey and to the path, and knowing that this is where I wanted to be all along, I'm just incredibly fortunate it worked out the way it did.
Matt Weaver with Auto Week. Daniel, for years you've always been a inspirational, motivational kind of guy. I mean, head down, fin up comes to mind. When you think back to that era, how did you will yourself to keep on going, knowing that you had people saying, you know, you're not going to make it, you don't have funding, and here you are, Cup driver?
Probably stubbornness, probably the best way my wife would tell you. You know, I think, you know, throughout life, yeah, you try to be the one to, you know, add some motivation to somebody or do something to pick them up in their situation, man. I've seen, you know, hundreds and, you know, just tons and tons of kids that are more than capable of doing it and succeeding at the highest levels of sport. They'll never get that shot. And as things started to transpire and I saw that, man, I may actually have a crack at this, and I may get my shot, it was believing in all that stuff and applying it to myself. I think that was the biggest thing. And as I did that, it's incredible to see how things turned and led to what they are. And I think it's just believing in the words I was telling to other people. I think when it came down to it, that was the deciding factor from getting from the super late model ranks to this point, was believing in those words.
And what does it say that on the same day that the Priest was able to announce his deal?
Did he announce it?
Yeah.
Good for him, man. I didn't even hear it yet. I've been in the Xfinity car. That's awesome.
So both of you guys, very similar backgrounds, same day. What does that mean for guys who have talent, who don't have funding to be able to get here anyway?
It just means it can be done. You know, everybody says, you know, the path or whatnot of how we got here may not have been ideal, but at the end of the day, you did whatever you could with what you had. And to any racer out there that thinks it can't be done, I think today is a huge step in that direction to show that it can be. And, hopefully it inspires some racers across the country to be able to continue to put one foot in front of the other and do the right things in life, to hopefully align yourself with the right situation and know you got to trust yourself in the decisions you're making. And if you do that, no matter how it shakes out, you'll lay down at night knowing you gave everything you had. And I think that's what today's all about.
And one for RC. Do you feel like that you've probably left your entire organization, left a little bit on the table as far as getting Daniel his first Xfinity win, and there's more to unleash out of him in Xfinity and Cup?
Yeah, he will get his wins, and I think we could have him here Sunday. His 8 car is really fast. He's a great road racer, and don't be surprised if we're not sitting here Sunday afternoon. Write that down. So we're going to be trying. We got 3 good cars out here, and
No pressure.
there you go. It's we could be here Sunday. That's our plan, Saturday or Sunday, because he's running in the Saturday race as well, and we got 3 cars on it, and anybody can win this Roval. I'm just proud to have Daniel driving for us next year, and he and I had a lot of conversations, and I talked to him as a friend and told him whatever, we worked through this thing to get where we are sitting here today together, and I'm just proud to be here and proud to be announcing he's going to be our driver. And I've known his family, some of his uncles and different guys, and I remember bringing up a postcard and showing it to me one day. We were hunting and said, "Hey, it's Daniel Hemric. You better watch him." And I said, "I've been watching him."
Let's go. Look, I want to go to the press box. Do we have any questions from the press box?
Daniel, today's an official announcement. You're driving in Cup, but you've known for a little bit now. What was that emotion like when you found out that you were going to drive full-time in Cup in 2019?
Well, if you haven't been able to tell through my voice, it's been pretty emotional, Chris. No, it was more, I hate to say a sigh of relief, but it's like you put everything into something and just hoping there's a turning point. And, that starts to turn over as you get your shot in trucks and Xfinity, and then you kind of plateau, because when you want to make that next step, it's a totally different demand on yourself, on your family, on everybody that's financially invested, emotionally invested. And I think just being able to go through, the last couple months and trying to figure out, what was next for me and what was going to be, the right decision for myself. It was a matter of all that stuff leading to be able to make the decision and be able to sit here today. And, I'm excited, and all of it will really, really set in probably as we move forward and get to this weekend and get into the normality of regular weekdays. But it's been incredibly humbling to see the people that are reaching out. My phone will not stop as I'm sitting up here right now going off. And it's a cool feeling to know that we have so many people supporting us, supporting our organization, and look forward to having all the support behind us as we roll into 2019.
Any more from the press box?
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. This might be best for Torrey or Richard. The release says further announcements on sponsors at a later date. Are you fully funded for this car? Are you still hunting for sponsorship? And when you were weighing what drivers to put in the car, how much did sponsorship factor into that decision?
Yeah, Nate, we plan to lay all that out over the next several weeks. We have Caterpillar, of course, and we're pretty confident that most of the rest of our partners that are on the 31 now will be back, and got some other partners that have supported Daniel over the last few years that we feel like will be a part of the program now. So we do have some pieces still left to put in place, and we'll lay that over the next several weeks, hopefully before the end of the season. And sponsorship always is an important factor and comes into play. I've told several people that in the good old days, and you wanted to change drivers, you could make one phone call and get approval, and you'd be done. And today, it takes multiple conversations, multiple levels of approval, and so it's a much more complex process than it was 20 years ago.
Any further questions? One more right here. We'll finish from the third row.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport. Daniel, Richard was talking about how impressive you've been in the Cup car, and I think it's interesting to see just how quickly in just the 2 starts you've had that you've adapted to the Cup car. Without giving away any trade secrets, of course, what have you found that's made you so comfortable, and what do you feel like your chances are for Sunday?
I feel like just as far as being comfortable, I think it's just treating it as a race car. I think not diving too far into it. At the end of the day, you got to treat it that way, and no different than the way I've approached any next step in my career. And I think being able to do that and understand some of the dynamics of the race cars, and obviously having track time here in my Xfinity car yesterday led to unloading with speed in our 8 car over there with Smoky Mountain on board, and knowing that we're able to transition and just treat it like it is. I haven't even looked at data or nothing there because I don't want to mess myself up yet. So it's been a fun transition, and obviously having speed makes it that much more fun. And still a long weekend ahead for me, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm having a good time enjoying the switch back and forth.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the press for working with us. I know Bob, Clarabee, a lot of different ones have asked me, when you're going to make the announcement, you're going to tell me first, whatever. But here we are today. We've made it, and thank all the press for working with us all through this transition. Thank you.
Yeah, good way to end it. Thanks everybody.
Yeah, thank you.